Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jai Gauda Nitai, Gauda Nitai, Gauda Nitai, Jaya Gauda Nitai. Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radhesham, Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radhesham. Jai Radha Chama Sundaradha, Chama Sundaradhi. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Thai Gau Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam devang saraswating vyasam tado jayam udirayet nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityang bhagavat sevaya bhagavat uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 45. Krishna rescues his teacher's sons, text 24 and 25. Which verse is up? Both are there. Evaṁ sāntvayya bhagavān nandam sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām asa sādaram evaṁ sāntvayya bhagavān nandam sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām asa sādaram evaṁ sāntvayya bhagavān nandaṁ sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām sādaram. Vraja acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām sādaram. bhagavān nandaṁ sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām sādaram. bhagavān nandaṁ sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām sādaram. Mataji's. evaṁ sāntvayya bhagavān nandaṁ sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām sādaram. evaṁ sāntvayya bhagavān nandaṁ sa-vrajam acyutaḥ vāso laṅkāra-kupyādyair arhayām sādaram. Evam, in this manner, sāntvayya, consoling, bhagavān, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nandam, King Nanda, sa-vrajam, together with the other men of Vraja, acyutaḥ, the infallible Lord, vāsaḥ, with clothing, alaṅkāra, jewelry, kupya, vessels made of metals other than gold or silver, ādyaiḥ, and so on. Arhayām, he honored them, sa-ādaram, respectfully. Translation by the followers of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus consoling Nanda Mahārāja and the other men of Vraja, the infallible Supreme Lord respectfully honored them with gifts of clothing, jewelry, household utensils, and so on. Text 25. I'll read the Sanskrit. Ityuktasto parishabdhya nanda pranayavan pura yan nashrubhir netre saha gopa vrajang yayav. Nanda Mahārāja was overwhelmed with affection upon hearing Krishna's words, and his eyes brimmed with tears as he embraced the two lords. Then he went back to Vraja with the cowherd men. Responsively, Nanda Mahārāja was overwhelmed with affection upon hearing Krishna's words, and his eyes brimmed with tears as he embraced the two lords. Then he went back to Vraja with the cowherd men. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti has written an extensive purport to this verse, elaborately analyzing this portion of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Just as a man places his valuable gold within fire to reveal its purity, the Lord placed his most beloved devotees, the residents of Vrindavan, in the fire of separation from him in order to manifest their supreme love. This is the essence of Acharya Vishwanath's comments. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes to the torchlight of knowledge. Hope they're still open. Let us offer respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desire trees, can fulfill the desires of everyone, full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This attachment for family is very strong. On the mundane platform, it's considered illusory or something that's temporary because previous to this life, I didn't really have any relation with the members of my family. And now that I have my wife and children and nationality and the boys and girls, they're mine, under my care, but the material ingredients are what? Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. And due to our desires and previous karmic activities, working in so many ways to look for that happiness, which is always fleeting. It's like the carrot dangling in front of the donkey who keeps working really hard to get that carrot, but we never really get the carrot. It's a real disappointment in the material world, because ultimately we may think, no, I'm happy, I have my mother and father, my brothers and sisters, my countrymen, my community. It's a feeling of bondage, and great happiness is there. On the other hand, Krishna is expressing deep love and affection for Nanda Mahārāja, all the cowherd men, so much so that he promised them, oh, I'll take care of my business in Mathura. I got to pacify my real mother and father. When you say real mother and father, when you think of like adoption, just because the body doesn't come from the body, or we're thinking that I am the creator, but actually no one's father, no one is mother, only Krishna is the real father and mother of everyone. Because the material ingredients, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, although it's a manifestation of the Lord, that's also eternal, and the living entity is eternal. But then, due to being very tiny, Krishna's great. He's never entangled in this material world. He comes for the purpose of bringing his devotees back home, back to the spiritual kingdom. But all of us are very, very small, and because of our small nature, we're covered by illusion. And that illusion is thinking that I will be happy somehow or other, and Krishna instructs Mother Nature to provide all the necessary ingredients. Okay, here's a good mother and father for this person who wants to enjoy in this way. He wants to be a dog, a pig, a demigod, a human being, or whatever. So many mothers and fathers are there. There's one story, reading in the 6th canto, about a great king, Maharaj Chitraketu, because we heard about the story how the demigods are always fighting with the demons. It means the demigods want to glorify the Lord, and they're given facility in the heavenly planets where the demonic persons want to forget about the Lord so they can themselves be the controllers and enjoyers. So Parikshit Maharaj was astonished. How is it that this Vritrasura, who became like a big demon in order to kill Indra, how he was considered a great devotee? So the history of Maharaj Chitraketu came about. He was Suvarna, anyway, he was an emperor, and he was very powerful. He married, but his wife was barren. He could not have a child, so he married again and again and again. He had thousands of wives, but had no child, and he was very morose, very unhappy. You might see that in the tradition. They think we need, if with marriage, you need a male child so that he can perform the pinda necessary for freeing his relatives from the Yamaraj and from all their sinful activities. So in Vedic culture, the tradition is to have a child, and ceremoniously he should perform the duties to free the parents from any kind of further hellish sufferings in this world. Anyway, Chitraketu became obsessed with that. Although he had so much power, unlimited wealth, many, many beautiful queens, thousands, hundreds of thousands, it says millions, but you can just imagine that how much can one try to enjoy in this world? So somehow Angira Rishi had nothing else to do, so he happened to come by the palace. And so Maharaj Chitraketu treated him very, very warmly, as you treat a sadhu, a saint. And Maharaj was trying to analyze, my dear Chitraketu, you know, I notice, they call it physiognomy, a saintly person can look in someone's face and can understand what's going on in the mind, because the face is the index of the mind. And so when someone's angry, you can't hide it. When someone's in anxiety, it's obvious, it shows. When someone is happy, that's also expressive through the facial expression. So he went through a whole list of things, you know, why is it you're unhappy? So Chitraketu explained his dilemma, his confusion. Although I have this empire and unlimited followers and obedient sub-kings, everyone's paying tribute, and I have so many beautiful wives, I don't have a son. I really, really want a son. So make a long story short, Angira Rishi, he said, okay, I will perform this yajna, this sacrifice, gave the sweet rice to his first or most beautiful queen, and you'll get a son, but he'll be harsha shoka. Then he'll bring you happiness, but he'll also give you distress. So the king thought happiness, because the child will come into this world, we'll all be happy. And because he's the only child, and he'll be so powerful, he'll be disobedient. Oh, okay, it's okay, let him be disobedient. Let it happen. He wasn't thinking so seriously about the shoka part, the suffering. He just wanted to have his child. So after taking the sweet rice, the queen of Chitraketu gave birth to a beautiful child. And everyone was so happy, jubilant. You know, in royalty, when the son is born to the king, you can imagine the festivities, and everyone's very, very joyful. Especially like, you know, during marriages or the birth of a child, and so many ceremonies to bring happiness to the whole kingdom. But the king started showing extra attention to his lovely wife who had the child. And the other queens naturally felt neglected, and they were neglected. And they started feeling the envy, and they started feeling a burning sensation that the king is not giving us attention, he's just fully attending to the queen and so happy for the child. And this envy got poisonous, very dangerous. So they decided, we're going to kill the child. So the queens, they administered poison. So the queen is waiting, the child's still not awake, and she calls the maidservant, "My friend, please bring my child." So when the maidservant came to see the baby, and saw the eyes are rolled up and no signs of life, she completely naturally fell to the ground and started screaming in great agony. So the queen heard, and she came, and she fainted on the spot, and everyone was in full anxiety and commotion. When the king Chitraketu heard about the whole, he couldn't believe it, so on his way he kept falling down due to his inability to focus his mind. And the whole scene was very, very emotional. Everyone in the palace was completely crying and screaming, and so much commotion and sadness was there. You can imagine wanting a son, and your child, losing a child, it's almost unbearable. We may have experiences in life and friends who have lost their child. It's very difficult to mentally and emotionally adjust to that tumultuous situation. So Angira Rishi and Narada Muni are coming again and asking the king, why? What are you lamenting? What's the big calamity? And of course, in a very beautiful way, they explain the temporal nature that this being who is your son, he appeared for some time, and just in order to prove the point, Narada Muni said, "My dear living entity, you've left prematurely, you can come back, you can enjoy the kingdom with your mother and father and make everyone happy." And so the queen and king were bewildered because the little baby boy came back to life and started speaking. So you can imagine when a small baby is speaking, he said, "Now which mother and father are these?" I've had mothers and fathers in heavenly situations and various other, places, and I'm not sure which mother and father you're referring. He said, "No one's my mother and father. I'm eternal living entity, just like everyone else is. We're all eternal living entities, and we're entrapped in the body. We're imprisoned in this body, and we're given a mind, we're given intelligence and senses. This is our instrument, yantra rudrani mayaya." Krishna's providing, through Mother Nature, a vehicle. And what's the vehicle for? To get us somewhere, go some destination. So when the child was speaking philosophy and explaining, although it's very, very difficult to overcome one's attachment to family and sadness, if you read that section, you'll very elaborately described by Shukadeva Goswami and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. But still, on the other side, we're seeing how the Guru, when Krishna and Balaram stayed in Mathura, they went to Sandipani school in Ujjain, and they learned all the different arts, 64 arts, day and night, every day they learned, to show the need to train the children in education. And so to make an offering to the Guru, the Guru and his wife said, "We'd like to have our lost son back." So Krishna and Balaram went to the court of Yamaraj and brought back the son. So we're thinking, well, all these attachments are very difficult. The whole Bhagavad Gita is also around losing my friends, my relatives, my teachers, my uncles, even all the children were lost. So great emotion and mixed feelings are there due to our attachment to this material world. And that attachment has been going on since time immemorial. We've been traveling in this material world from body to body to body to body. And one who's fortunate by the grace of Krishna and Guru, he is given a spiritual master. So it's not uncommon to have a mother and father. You can have in any species of life, right? My dog mother and father, my pig mother and father, my demigod mother and father. But this is simply the temporary covering that we're talking about. The spirit soul is Satchidananda Vigraha, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. So to have a guru, to have a spiritual master is very rare because people don't want it. We're here because we want to be here. We want to enjoy this material world. And no matter how much we hear that, oh, there'll be suffering, Chitraketu knew there'll be suffering. The child brought me great joy, great happiness. But now he had prematurely left me. And that pain is like a dagger in the heart. It's great suffering, mental, physical, emotional suffering, unbearable practically. But then when knowledge is given and proper understanding is there, one becomes, the suffering is because of ignorance. But when one gains knowledge of the absolute truth and understands that I am eternal servant of Krishna, I don't belong to this world, not that we disrespect our mother and father or our relatives, we have to have that, because obviously we see how Krishna is dealing. Although he was promising, you go back to Vrindavan, I will take care of the things I have to take care of here, but I'm coming back. Yeah? So, as an attempt, reconciliation, his friend from Dwarka, Uddhava, came to visit Krishna, and that was his father's brother's son, Vasudev's brother. And he looked just like Krishna, same age as Krishna, very close friend of Krishna's. So he sent Uddhava to Vrindavan to console Nanda Mahārāja, Mother Yashoda, the gopis, the cowherd boys, everyone. When Mother Daivi Shakti was giving class, I asked about, well, I thought Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So it says that he never leaves, he stays in his bhava form, by thinking about Krishna, thinking about his pastimes, recalling of him lifting Govardhan Hill or all the different activities. Krishna is actually present. He's present in that form. But again, it says that he disappeared or left the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan to intensify their meditation, to intensify their love for him. So we can't understand it from a mundane point of view, because if we're thinking about our own relatives, our countrymen, our nation, this is not going to help liberate us. But by thinking about Krishna and Balaram and thinking of how they're always concerned of protecting their devotees, and anyone who's inimical to the devotees or giving a difficult time, Krishna, he's upset by that. He sometimes comes and kills people like Panca, Hiranyakashipu, and so many of the other demons who were causing disturbance to Braj. He was killing to show that he's always there to protect the devotees. And one who, just like Krishna's, he's not partial when he says, I have no friends. Krishna has no enemies. He has no, favorites. But he does say, Yeyata mang prapadyate tangs tataiva bhajam yaham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So it's not that Krishna's playing a merchant game, but it's like every living entity is dear to Krishna. It's part of Krishna. We are part of Krishna. It's not that we are Krishna. We're like the sunshine, the particle of sunshine emanates from the sun, but it's not the sun itself. It has the qualities of the sun. So we have that eternal quality. But because the inhabitants of Vrindavan know nothing other than Krishna, like when the gopis saw the chariot of Uddhava, when Uddhava arrived, Nanda Mahārāja immediately started asking, how is Vasudeva and Devaki doing now that they're free from the grip of Kamsa? And how are all the relatives doing? And so much Nanda Mahārāja is thinking, well, maybe not Krishna and Balaram, as Garga Muni suggested, might be the leaders of the demigods, and they came to perform some activities. And Mother Yashoda was just listening while Nanda Mahārāja was remembering and glorifying Krishna and Balaram, and she was just crying and totally immersed in thought of Krishna and Balaram. But when when Uddhava explained to Nanda Mahārāja that actually Krishna and Balaram are the supreme absolute truth. They're the creators of the whole world. Everything in the past was created, everything that's existing, everything that's yet to come. They're the supreme controllers, and they've created everything in this world. And also facilitated this world so that we can all try to utilize our independent desires in a certain way. One might think that if the parent is too lenient with the child, then that's not a good thing. You should discipline him. Maybe Krishna should discipline us so that we don't stay in this world. But real love comes in a voluntary, loving exchange. It's not that Krishna is going to force us. That Krishna prema sajukabunoi, that love for Krishna is already existent, but it's just covered over. Now when the gopis met Uddhava, they thought, oh, how beautiful, he looks just like Krishna. He has attained the swarup of Krishna, same lotus eyes, he dressed like Krishna, looks like Krishna. So when they found out that Uddhava had a message for them, they took him to a private place. They didn't want to be embarrassed in front of other people when they were asking about Krishna, because they had such intense love for Krishna. Even then they forgot about their duties and responsibilities, because they're always thinking about Krishna, and also the Lord's footprints are still there in Braj. Anyway, the whole loving exchange, Krishna's was showing Uddhava to come to Vrindavan and to meet Nanda, Yashoda, and the gopis and explain to them that Krishna's love and affection for them. But also showing their exalted behavior of because of their attachment to Krishna, they were experiencing the highest love, the highest happiness. So Srila Prabhupada is showing us how we can come back home, back to the spiritual kingdom. We may think it's very, very complicated how Krishna, as Balaram, expands as the Chatur Vyuha and then expands again, and creating the material world, creating all the material elements, demigods, higher planets, middle planets, lower planets, and all the intrigue and complications of living in this material world. It may be exhausting and overwhelming. I was exhausted and overwhelmed this morning. I thought, oh, how am I going to give class? Too many things are floating around. So, one who is interested to awaken his Krishna consciousness, a tato brahma jignasa, just like Sanatana Goswami, he is being praised for his erudition and for his ability to lead the people, but he was feeling, who am I? Why am I forced to suffer? So what are the three sufferings? Adhyatmika, adhidaivika, adhibodhika. Adhyatmika, the mind and body is giving trouble. Old age comes in, there's always going to be trouble. The knees don't work, the eyes don't work, the ears don't work. What? I can't, everything starts deteriorating, going back to the earth. It's getting ready. But the spirit soul is ever fresh and youthful. So adhyatmika, the mind will cause disturbance and the body causes disturbance. Adhibodhika, other living entities. This morning the mosquitoes were biting. Flies will be there. There may be so many enemies and so many people are causing disturbance. The government is taking all your money. Taxation. What is the tax now? 18%? So if the government is not providing shelter for the citizens, then they become very disturbed and they want to go away. And when the body is no longer fit for inhabitation, just like if you have a broken down car, the wheels are falling off and the engine's not working, you leave it, you discard it. So when the body is no longer usable as a vehicle for any practical purpose, we have to leave it. And another body will be available depending on our desires and our karmic activities. But the whole idea of approaching the spiritual master, and we pray, Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. The Guru is opening the eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So it's not just simply some magical performance or some wand, he hits you on the head, okay, I'm free. Of course, that happened when Dhruva Maharaj was wanting to pray to Krishna, and Krishna touched his head with the conch shell, and he spoke very beautifully. And Krishna will enlighten, but the Guru is to give us guidance, and he's giving guidance in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, giving us rules and regulations. I was reading in Lilamrita how in Hawaii, there's always some troubles in Hawaii, that some of the early devotees were having trouble with some of the leaders, the GBC, ISKCON. And Prabhupada said, well, no, Prabhupada, we follow you. We accept you. And everything that you give us, we accept that. Do they come to the temple? No, they don't come. Do they follow the the instructions of the GBC? No, we cannot follow the GBC. So Prabhupada came to the conclusion, well, that's just a really roundabout way to saying that I don't have faith in Prabhupada, because if Prabhupada is saying you come and see the deities, or you come and you sing the holy name together, or you worship the Guru, or take prasad, we may like or not like how the society is growing and developing, and maybe there's so many stumbling blocks along the path of perfect management and civilization, but still Prabhupada is guiding. Can't imagine how much he would travel constantly. Shruta Kirti knows he was traveling with him. But imagine you're taking your reference books, your dictaphone, your secretary and your servant, and also maybe a pundit, one or two pundits along with you, and then considering the jet lag, considering the inconveniences of customs and airports, and only spending a few days from place to place, and then continuing translation, continuing your regular programs, giving lectures, answering thousands of letters of people who are having so many concerns and difficulties, trying to keep the society together, ultimately boiling down to your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate together to serve. And so this should be our focus and our goal, that by hearing Prabhupada, following Prabhupada's instructions in a humble mood, cooperative mood, somehow it's hard to be humble. It's sometimes that independent spirit facilitates one. He can sleep in, not go to the programs, and maybe not follow the rules and regulations, but I still love Prabhupada. It's not like that we actually have to follow the rules and regulations of the Guru. We have to hear daily, nityang bhagavata sevaya. We have to chant the Lord's glories and be enthusiastic to perform our devotional service and avoid offenses. I read one that it says before one the splinter in the eye, get the log out of your eye before you criticize a splinter in someone else's eye, some biblical quotation like that, meaning that we should look at ourselves and see that we're developing tolerance, humility, humbleness. If we want to chant the Lord's holy name, we have to follow the teachings. Just Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us Vipralamba, this mood of separation from Krishna, but very, very humble and very eager to always hear about Krishna, remember Krishna. The gopis are remembering Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. They're acting out like Krishna's play together. They're doing all these plays to remember Krishna. So somehow, by living in the association of devotees, even though it can be troublesome at times, but it's nectar. We were hearing yesterday that by serving the devotees, service to the Vaishnavas, this is the way of actually gaining genuine knowledge and spiritual growth. That somehow or other, let me serve the Vaishnavas, or be with those who want to serve the Vaishnavas. Be with those who want to hear and chant about Krishna's glories. Not with those who have the latest gossip about all the problems of life and all the problems of our society. I'm sure there's unlimited problems in our society, but our biggest problem is that we've forgotten Krishna. And if we follow Prabhupada and really go out on book distribution and chanting, dancing, taking Krishna Prasadam, then that love will start kindling. Right now it's a little spark, and unless you fan it and feed it, it'll just maybe go out. So whatever little spark of Krishna consciousness we have, by living in the association of this society, especially Krishna Balaram Mandir, Prabhupada's, he was very, very happy and very much excited about opening Bombay, opening up Mayapur, but Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Mandir, personally doing the first artik. You see the pictures of Prabhupada and we've heard the stories. So we're sitting in Prabhupada's home under his shelter, and we should somehow do something wonderful. Because beautiful, we're distributing 25,000 cups of prasad daily, 1,000, 2,000 books every day, many preaching programs, many kirtan is going on, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, Kalu anasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. Stay in the association of devotees and chant enthusiastically, and the realization will come that love for Krishna will develop more and more. So Shruta, I'm hoping that you could say something, because I was really amazed how Prabhupada was traveling, they were inviting him to South America, and Prabhupada, he had I think in 1975 planned a whole world tour in 50 days to be so many places. And what's that all for? Because he loved all his disciples, and he loves everybody. Prabhupada was feeling great compassion for everyone. Even one time I heard, sitting in the car, Prabhupada was crying, just seeing the condition of Kali Yuga, that these people are just suffering and are lost. Only Harinama is the only solution, the only goal. Someone asked Prabhupada, what was the most trying experience for you, Srila Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, you don't want to know. He didn't answer. He said, you don't want to know. So we're all going to have challenges in our Krishna consciousness. We've already had challenges in our material existence, suffering, so at least we utilize our intelligence to come to Krishna consciousness. But also within Krishna consciousness, we may have health issues, we may have mental issues, we may have adibodhika issues with others. These things are naturally there. And then what to speak, adi-daivika, the rain, the hurricanes, the whole world is experiencing unprecedented heat. People are dying of heat. Huge fires in Germany and Canada and Hawaii. Imagine the Hawaiian Islands, thousands of people losing their homes, dying. So material world is a place of misery. From the highest planet down to the lowest, all are places of suffering. So why we should stay here? There's no other solution. You can say, well, I don't really care for Krishna consciousness. Then you're forced to die and take birth again in this material world and forced again to die. And again and again. You're just dying again and again. And it's like there's no escape. There's no escape. Doesn't matter if you're a billionaire, a millionaire. It's, I said, it showed this person and that person. They were one of the wealthiest couple in the world, but they were brutally murdered in a suffering way. So no matter how much wealth or how janmaishvarya shrutabir, if you're born in a very elite family with so much riches, such beauty, intelligence, strength, but what's it all for? If it's not meant to awaken our Krishna consciousness, then we're just forced to stay prisoners in the material world. So Prabhupada came to see if we're ready. Okay, let him out of the entrapment, let him go back home, back to Godhead. He's realizing material world is suffering. He's realizing that he's eternal servant of Krishna, das anudas, and he's very happy about it. He's very blissful to be a servant of Prabhupada and servant of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I thought Shruta could say a few words just about Prabhupada and traveling. You want to say a few words? You don't want to say? No? Or you say a few words, and if somebody has a question, we can let you off easy.
Hare Krishna. Because I just traveled.
You just
one short trip to Switzerland, and I think 10 days have gone by, and I still can't get myself up and going. So, looking back, we couldn't do it when Prabhupada was here, but seeing what he did, at the age that he did it was remarkable. And it can only come from, as Prabhupada was saying, that enthusiasm when it comes to Krishna consciousness. So our endeavor always has to be there somehow. Otherwise, Krishna always gives us reminders.
It's true. I was telling him, like, when disturbances come, you can't think clearly, or you can't really function to your utmost capacity. So Prabhupada is not struggling, but the challenges of the Bombay, the municipality, different disciples' griefs and problems, and so many hundreds of centers, so much. But when he's speaking the absolute truth in such a beautiful, transcendental way, you think how this person has so much trouble, so much disturbance, but still he's transparently thinking about the welfare of others suffering. He's not worried about himself. It's amazing. So anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, we're all here together in Krishna consciousness. We can all go back home, back to Godhead. Why not? That was the intention. Prabhupada had that idea that make that gateway, and he's showing us how to, don't go towards the hellish gateway. Don't go towards repetition of birth and death and suffering. Come to the gate of Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. And he said such a simple process, and especially Kali Yuga, of avoiding the offenses, of course, but chanting the Lord's holy name. And if one, even though has so many desires and disqualifications, the power of the holy name will give one the clarity and intelligence to recognize this is a short, how to get rid of the anarthas. The anarthas are generally various attachment and offenses which keep us, chained down. If you have weights tied on your ankles and arms and you end up in the water, you're going down quick. But if you get rid of all the anarthas, then you can float. Someone was saying the other day, you could become, like a yogi and become the top. Yoginamapi sarvesham mad gatinatama atmadan shadavam bhajate yomam same yukta tomataha. Of all yogis, he's worshiping Krishna with great faith. He's the best of all yogis. So yes, we can all go back home, back to Godhead. Oh, Haribol.
Thank you so much, Guru. I like the story of Mahārāja nation. So I was just wondering, I don't have 100 wives, I don't have 1,000 wives. So what lesson do I learn from that story?
What was the last part? You don't, I know you don't have 100 wives. What else? You're a brahmachari. What else? So what else?
What lesson do I learn from the story?
Well, it's just showing that even if one has a full facility, wealth, dhanam, janam, sundaring, followers, beautiful women, money, anything that money can buy, you have all these facilities. The story is there to help us understand the importance of awakening our eternal spiritual life and not being entrapped in this material existence. Just, it's a beautiful story, and there are many stories throughout the Bhagavatam to give us enough strength and enough clarity so we can utilize our determination for the purpose of going back home, back to Godhead. Oh, look at you. He wants to say some more. Good.
He said, what's the lesson of the story? The lesson is you can't escape your destiny. He wanted so much to enjoy, have a son and enjoy.
He wasn't meant.
He couldn't do it. Prabhupada said that you can't escape your destiny. So he couldn't escape that, despite everything. But of course, everything is to bring you closer to Krishna. The purpose of everything that happens. That's our destiny.
Anyone else have a question?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, just one minute. How Prabhupada would have reacted to this news yesterday?
I couldn't hear it. What?
How Prabhupada would have reacted yesterday's news of Indian scientists landing in...
Oh, how would have Prabhupada reacted to yesterday's news of the scientists or from India sending a shuttle to the moon, right? Well, they wasted billions of crores of rupees to get some sand and dust, and it's something which is actually beyond. In the Bhagavatam, the descriptions, and Prabhupada throughout the 10 years never accepted that they genuinely went to the moon as we know the moon, maybe Rahu, or just like we have deserts, they were displaced by and you see in the news too, sometimes the aliens know that we know that they're out there, so they're hiding from us, the alien. So anything in pursuit of just, yes, our country, a milestone, we landed on the moon. Okay, in Russia, after 55 years or whatever, sent something and crashed in the moon and finished. People were killed, they didn't mention anything about it. No people on it? Anyway. So, material life is just a waste of money. It's all based on the bodily concept, my nationality, my family, rich nation, now, we're becoming a rich nation. It's all false, temporary illusion, because ultimately everything will be destroyed and they'll be wound up. But as long as we stay in this material world, we're going to be forced and packed into one body after. Imagine very soon, as soon as you leave this body, again you'll be packed into a womb for another 9 months, and then got to come out a very small passage, and it practically takes your life. And then they say one who's intelligent, he can pray to God, please take me out of this miserable condition. I'll definitely serve you. But as we become, and all the parents and relatives, oh, how cute and how wonderful, and they fully cuddle and kiss you to death, and you think, hey, this place is not that bad. Okay, got one more there.
Actually, this is the difference between material life and the spiritual life. Middle life, everybody wants to defeat everything. Right? As I said that yesterday, our scientists, few days before also Russians, they tried and they couldn't land. But this is the result we see if we atheists, then it will happen. But we have already learned, Gauda has given so much way to teaching us, becoming a saintly person, as a devotee, thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, and you don't need to having any worry in our mind. The time will come one day, you will go back to God. From where you don't have to come back to the world. That is fact. But again, a question coming in my mind, that if I think I'm a fool number one, of course, if I think like that why don't you travel that way to Loka and go to Vrindavan? Why not staying here in this Vrindavan or Vraja? This is also the part of Vaikuntha. Why not?
Well, they say you can't buy a ticket to Vrindavan, and Vishaya Chariya Kabe Shuddhabe Mana. That when we become free from our material desires, our lusty desires to enjoy in this world, then we'll see Vrindavan. So you might get a ticket on Air India and come here, and you think, I'm in Vrindavan. But real Vrindavan is just being freed of the desire for enjoyment in this material world, and by chanting the name of the Lord in the company of devotees, your heart and your spiritual eyes will see real Vrindavan. And whether you're here or in Goloka, it's the same thing, but you have to be here without desires. Okay, thank you. All that's described in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavatam. Krishna is explaining what are the godly qualities, what are the demonic qualities. But the essence is obedience to the spiritual master. I mean, this tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sa-vrajam, that inquiring submissively, rendering service, the self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So this yas is yasti bhaktir bhagavat yakinchana. That means all the godly qualities are manifest already in our being. But this covering, this pride, this ego is the barrier. So by following the orders of the spiritual master and by really chanting in association of devotees, because we're all trying to help one another, then we'll understand that tatikshava, karunika, suhrida, sarvadehanam, the tolerance, merciful, kind to all living beings. Then you become broad-minded, godly conscious. And the more we hear Prabhupada, the more we read Bhagavad Gita and hear Krishna, then we'll understand what the godly qualities are, and we'll see what our demonic qualities are, and we'll try to get rid of those very quickly, because otherwise they become a stumbling block for spiritual life. So everywhere it says, let the meek and gentle inherit the world. The humility is the beginning point, meaning Prabhupada was very, very humble, but when it came to glorifying and protecting Krishna consciousness, he was a lion, right? Best I can do. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. I thought you weren't going to make it. Huh? Yeah? You want to bring anybody else?
Hare Krishna. This is from the donut baking class that was told you want